T minus 1 minute. T minus 50 seconds. T minus 40 seconds. T minus 30 seconds. T minus 20 seconds. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Tonight on Truth Today, live in studio, we're going to be discussing New York City has gone crazy, breeding and producing jihadist Marxists. Folks, unfortunately, this is exactly what we had predicted and were concerned about, that from New York City would now be the breeding ground for the takeover of America by the red and green axis. Also, justice upside down in America. We'll have the video clip of Tony Spell, the pastor from Louisiana, who was arrested on battery charges, and more Tucker propaganda, this time with so-called theologian J.D. Hall, further bashing Israel and dispensational believers. That and a lot more right now in studio with Truth Today. Well, good evening, folks. Pastor Sharam Hadian. So good to be back with you here in studio. It's been a long time. We were on our vacation in Western Washington, up in Canada. My oldest son got engaged. My son Jariah got engaged to his fiancee Alera. We're excited for that. And I got to minister, if you guys got a chance, those of you who were following us, our ministry, I got to minister at Candlelight Christian Fellowship on Sunday, on Father's Day in Coeur d'Alene, 4 services talking about the subject of Persia, Iran, and Bible prophecy. Amazing time, amazing presentation. So good to be with our brothers and sisters up there in Candlelight. That is a home away from home. Pastor Paul Van Ooyen, all the leadership there. That was wonderful. And good to be back home. We're a day late coming home because our flight had gotten in late. We had flown into Nashville and we were going to drive back, and we got delayed, and we were getting a rental car, and the rental car counter had closed. And anyway, we were stuck in Nashville for another day, but it's good to be back home after a long time. Good to be back in studio, and hopefully we'll have some consistency here over the next number of weeks. We should be good for most of the summer. I'm back. We're going to have lots of amazing guests. And oh, by the way, Monday night, please pray for this. Not Monday night, Monday afternoon. If you're familiar with Eric Steckelbeck, Steckelbeck Tonight, I'm going to be on his program on Monday at 1:30 Eastern time, 12:30 Central, I'm not sure if it's live or they pre-record, but I'll have some more information on that. That was a tremendous opportunity. It actually came about from the documentary, The Great American Conflict, that we went to the opening in Dallas, the premiere. This is a documentary that was funded and supported by Iran Alive Ministries, a great ministry. I mentioned to you that I got a chance to be in their studios and got to do some programs that actually went live into Iran. Tremendous opportunity. So grateful to the Lord. And that was an opportunity for us to actually speak in Farsi and send the gospel and the good news into Iran. So tremendous there. By the way, they have made this documentary now free if you go to their website, Iran Alive Ministries, and you can click, just look for the documentary. And maybe later in the show, I'll have this. I'll put this in the link. It's kind of a long URL, but if you just give them your email address, you can watch the documentary for free right there on or through their website, Iran Alive Ministries. We're still working on trying to see if we can get a premiere done here in the Knoxville, Tennessee area. So, okay, now let's dig in. Good to be back again with you. First of all, a couple of housekeeping items. As always, please remember, check out our website, tilministry.com, tilministry.com. Remember that I'm going to be in Sugar Land, Texas, in the Houston area, July 25th, 26th, there for that weekend. And we'll have some information on our website about that. And we have a busy fall, praise God. Also, if you are on one of our platforms, remember that Rumble is our main platform. So all of you on Facebook, welcome. All of you on YouTube, welcome. I'll be doing my best to try to follow the comments. We already have a lot of comments, but rumble.com/RamHadian is our main platform. Please remember, if you go to Rumble, do us a favor, click the red button that says join, that subscribes you to our channel, and please like and share. We should be getting more likes for the number of views that we're getting, and I pray you will help us share these links with other people so that we can get this information out. Let's see. I got a lot of comments already. And so also let us know where you're from. I'm just going back to the comments real quick. Wisconsin, welcome. Texas, welcome. Pennsylvania, Jules, welcome. Great to have you. East Tennessee, welcome. Tennessee, welcome. Welcome. Texas, Arlington, Texas. We have Houston area. Yes. Okay. Let's see. West Tennessee, welcome. Victory for Jesus, welcome. Pastor Brandon, welcome from Ohio. We welcome you guys. Thank you so much. I'm just looking through. I can't keep up with this. Crossville, Tennessee. We have a lot of comments. So thank you guys. Thank you guys. Thank you guys. All right. Newfoundland, Canada. Welcome, Lori, from Newfoundland, Canada. It's Eastern Canada, way over in Eastern Canada. Welcome. And Johnson City, Tennessee, Southern California. We welcome all of you guys. All right. So we are talking tonight about New York City. That's our main topic tonight. Let me get back to our images here. New York City. Sad to say, it is collapsing. It is falling. This is exactly what we were concerned about with regards to what is going on in New York City. All of the work there of this red and green access. There's several elements that I want to cover tonight for you in regards to the takeover, fall, collapse of New York City. And this is really, again, those of you folks who have not gotten our DVD, Battle for America. This is exactly how I start this presentation off. We talk about, oh, look, I'm wearing the same outfit. That's crazy. So I'm like, wow, it looks like the same guy wearing the same outfit. It is all about this red and green access. And we've been trying to warn you that the red of this axis, those who are espousing the socialism and the communism and the Marxism, they are and have taken over the Democrat Party. This is the Democrat Socialist of America. These are the so-called Marxists, that many of them are actually jihadists. Again, if you're joining us late, we're talking about the continued jihadist Marxist takeover of New York City. And remember, New York City is the largest city in America. New York City has the largest Muslim population in America. New York City now has officially the largest number of mosques of any city in America, something like 300 plus mosques in the boroughs. New York City has had a massive exodus of anybody that was more pro-business, conservative. During COVID, right, there was a mass exodus out of New York City into places like Florida, here in Tennessee. We had a lot of New Yorkers moving down into this area. I remember when we moved here in 2020. So the DSA, or the Democrat Socialists of America, is how Mamdani Zoran ran for mayor. But all along we were saying he is an avowed Shia or Shiite 12th Imam supporting Muslim. And I've said recently in my talks, if you want to know Zoran Mamdani, just look at Ayatollah Khomeini in Iran in 1979. Mamdani is the same guy, same values, same principles, same eschatology, same belief system. He's just younger and better looking than Khomeini was. Now Mamdani has put forth and supported this breed of candidates that is unbelievably radical. They're not left. They are full-blown Marxist, communist Muslims. And if they're not Muslim, like the one guy that just won the primary who is Jewish, remember, when I tell this people are like, what? Remember I said that about 1/3 of Mamdani's votes, when he won the mayoral election, about 1/3 of his votes came from the Jewish community in New York. And yet we've seen a massive, over 200% uptick in anti-Semitic attacks against Jews in New York City since he took office in January of this year. And yet the guy that just won the primary against another Jewish leftist, and this is, I'm not here to bash Jews, I'm just telling you that this is when these people that want to bash Israel and bash the Jewish people, look, there's self-deprecating people in every population. There are self-deprecating people that claim to be Christians, and there's a lot of self-deprecating people that claim to be Jewish, that vote against their own self-interest, against their own survivability. They're fools, they're useful idiots, using the communist term. They're dhimmis, using the Islamic term. And this is where it's going. And this movement has taken over. Remember, I already have shown you what happened in Minneapolis, right? Minneapolis City Council, now 9 of the 10 seats on the Minneapolis City Council is held either by Muslims or the Democrat Socialist or Democrat Farmers Labor Party. So these are full-blown Marxists and Muslims. You have now New York City, you have in Virginia, you have in New Jersey, you have in Washington, D.C., and of course, parts of Texas as well, and other parts of the country. Yeah, guys, I'm getting the same thing. I apologize. I'm not sure what's going on with our internet. I checked it before we went live, and so bear with us. I'm hoping that it will be a little better here. It shouldn't have been low bandwidth on my end because we had good, my signal was very good going out, but now I don't know what's going on. Let me just double check really quick here for us to make sure that, I'm not sure, I have to check our router and see if our signal, I'm just double checking. So bear with us. Thank you guys for your patience. Don't leave. I'm just testing this really quick and seeing what will come up here. Okay. So here is a video that I want to play for you guys. There's a social media influencer that kind of gave a good overview of the situation in New York City, particularly of 3 of the candidates that Mamdani had endorsed and is supporting. So this isn't just New York City. This is an indication. This is an indication of what is going on throughout the nation. It is shifting. And this is what I've been trying. Yeah, just bear with us, guys. There's something going on here because our signal is really good. So I don't know why we're having the problem on that end, but just hopefully it will clear up here. But here is, this is an indication of the fact that, and part of, again, in this presentation, Battle for America, we talk about this. If you have not gotten the copy, please get it, share it with people. We have to understand that these Democrat socialists hate not only our government, our republic, they hate the Democrat Party itself. So they have infiltrated and now fully taken over the Democrat Party. That's why you're not seeing just plain old, the so-called expression of Kennedy's Democrats. You're seeing now these are fundamentalist, Marxist, full-on. Some of them are communists. Here, for example, is their advertisement. Look at this. A city to win. A rally for the New York City DSA slate. So this is Democrat Socialist of America. Hassan Piker, Muslim. Claire Valdez. Diana Moreno. Conrad Blackburn. Christine Celeste. Ian Huntley. Aber Kawaz. I'll talk about her. Muslim. And then, as I said, the guy that is running for, I think he actually, all 3 of the ones you're going to see in this video clip were ones who won their primaries for Congress. So we're going to now have another breed of Congress in DC coming up here this November. So watch this. This is just a gal that does social media, but she gives a pretty good overview here of what is going on. Let me just see. I don't know if I can make this bigger. Can I make it bigger a little bit?
Last night to terrify everyone, and here's why. New York held their Democrat primaries, but instead of electing normal Democrats, voters chose their farther left socialist candidate. These guys, all backed by Zohran Mamdani and all America hating. This one, Daria Liza, she recently converted to Islam and said she would use the American flag to wipe if she forgot a napkin. She co-founded a group at Columbia whose stated mission was the total eradication of Western civilization. She's going to Congress. This one, Claire Valdez, ran on granting citizenship and voting rights to illegals using your tax dollars for treatments, surgeries, and the elimination of private insurance. Communist in Congress. Brad also won, but he's technically Jewish, so he had to pretend not to be and do this to get elected. Say what? This chick also won a state assembly seat. She's a child of illegals. She once protested carrying a Hamas headband, and she blamed 9/11 on America's racism. Here's why this matters, because we are watching the Democrat socialists, the communists, take over the Democrat Party. And where have we seen this before? Pre-Soviet Russia. You had the Bolshevik Communist Party and the Mensheviks, and Vladimir Lenin controlled the Bolsheviks, and he wanted to destroy the Mensheviks or the normie Dems. The gameplay has always been go to a normie blue area, take over, and then replace the normies with radicals. Then claim that your insane minority is the majority. Create a false sense of popularity, pretend that the minority is popular, spread it around to the young people, and get them all talking about it. Lenin did this, and then purged the traditional Mensheviks and took over. Therefore, the minority on paper becomes the majority. For Lenin, the Mensheviks weren't radical enough, and for today's socialists, the Democrats aren't radical enough. Mamdani is today's Lenin. You see clips of him all over social media trying to convince you that this is the new wave, this is where we're headed, and this is fetch. He's wrong. Most people don't want America-hating, ally-hating, seizing your private property, taxing you out the wazoo, terror-loving, gender-chopping, American flag-wiping candidates. They don't want communists. They want normalcy. Only 10% of New York City voted in this election. Most people stayed home. They don't care. 10%. But guess what? Apathy elects crazies. Today it's Congress people, tomorrow it's the Nazi tattoo guy for Senate, and then next year it's AOC for president, and then communists are in charge. Guys, it is time to be more aware of your local elections before it ends up eating you and the entire nation. It got really dark, but that'll be all of America if we don't act fast.
Wow, yeah, that's a good, succinct video. I appreciate the kind of the overview. That was a good overview, and we are in incredible dark days in America. Lori, that's a great point, that 10% were likely the Muslim population. Yeah, I mean, they could almost elect without the left now, but they still use the left. And let me give you an example of this. Let me share this video of this. Here is from from Memory. If you guys, this video was not playing for me earlier. And by the way, some of you guys are saying that the video was off and on. Yeah, it's again, it could be something going on with our computer, but the video itself kind of comes and goes. So just bear with me. But here is on Memory, New York primary election, Democrat candidates for Congress, Daria Aliza Avila Chevalier. That's the one who this gal just said has already converted to Islam. So she's a Marxist, right? So you got it? She's a Marxist. She's a Marxist that is converted to Islam. How many times have I said that the Marxists are going to be converted to the Islam? The red will ultimately be taken over by the green. That will happen again and again and again and again. It's not going to be the other way around. The Muslims are running as these Democrat socialists because this is the new fad. This is the trend. But once they are fully into the Marxist camp, they will either submit to Islam or they'll be taken out themselves. The same thing happened in Iran, right? We've told you this many, many times. The same thing happened in Iran. The Marxists in Iran helped Khomeini, helped the Islamic clerics take over Iran, and within months of the so-called revolution, they were blacklisted and taken out. So this video, which again, it was not playing the video. Let me see if it will play it this time. Memory was having some sort of a issue, but I'm going to refresh this. So if you go to this link, okay, and Brad Lander, this is the Jewish guy, Lander. You got to watch this video. If you can't watch it here, please go to Memory and look this up. Endorsed by Mayor Mamdani, recently spoke at Al Khoy Islamic Center in Queens, linked to Alavi Foundation, cited by the DOJ as an Iranian front where the imam prayed for the killing of infidels by the sword. So here is candidates Daria Liza, okay, and Brad Ladner, both of them. Here's one. Okay, this video, let's see, watch this video right here.
Our housing for our people is in a state that should make us all feel deep shame. There are folks who are living in conditions with lead paint, who are lacking heat and hot water. All of this while our tax dollars are going to wars and to genocide. We have the means to take care of our people here. What we lack is politicians and leadership with the political will to do that. While 180 little girls in Iran were slaughtered, there were over 150,000 school children in New York who were facing homelessness. We could be spending that money on our children here in New York to ensure that they have proper housing, dignified lives, a dignified education. And my opponent, Espaillat, is bought by the Israeli lobby to stay silent.
وأسأل الله أن يصلى على محمد وآل محمد وأن يجعلني من المنتظرين لك والتابعين والناصرين لك على أعدائك والمستشهدين بين يديك في جملة أوليائك والفرج فيه للمؤمنين على يديك.
Okay, let me stop there. I'm going to play the other video here in a minute. So what you see, okay, what you see is the fact that, again, this is this Daria, Marxist, converted to Islam, opining about the genocide, opining about, first of all, it was not 180 school children that were killed in Iran. It was in the 140 range, not to minimize it, but let's get your facts correct. And secondly, notice she doesn't say anything about at least the 45,000 Iranian people that were massacred by their own regime. So here she's standing in a mosque that is tied to the government of Iran in Queens, a pro-Iranian regime, jihadist, murderous regime. And she doesn't say one word about this regime massacring at least 45,000 of their own people in 2 days. But she's going to talk about the school, which should be talked about. But watch this video of this fool. Let me come back to this, sorry. Here is this guy. Here's Brad Lander. Listen to this pandering Jew. Listen to what this guy says. You won't believe it. And then listen to how he prays, and listen to what he prays, and we'll comment.
I believe, as a proud Jewish New Yorker, that Israel's genocide in Gaza is a desecration, is a violation of the understanding that everyone is created in God's image. Every one of those Palestinian kids in Gaza.
What about the ones who were killed by Hamas?
My beloved children. And so, yes, in Congress, I will not vote for any more U.S. military aid to Israel, not the bombs that are destroying the hospitals and schools in Gaza, not the occupation in Lebanon, which is now, I believe, unfortunately, on its way potentially to being a genocide.
Wow, another genocide.
Well, kind of partnership I developed with Soran, I hope to come to have with Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar,
what a fool you are,
and others in Congress to show we can build a city and a country and a world that everyone can afford.
Now listen. Now listen.
Everyone is welcome and where everyone's humanity is respected. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Kulhu Allahu Ahad, Allahu Samad, Lam Yalid wa Lam Yulad wa Lam Yakul lahu Kufuwan Ahad. Thank you very much for welcoming me today.
والفرج فيه للمؤمنين على يديك وقتل الكافرين بسيفك.
So this is the epitome of these fools. The epitome of these fools that go into a mosque. Now, if this guy's not converted, he says he was a Jewish individual. If he's not converted, but he goes into a mosque and not only says what he says, again, all the typical left and woke right talking points, right? Israel committed genocide in Gaza. Now they're supposedly committing genocide in Lebanon, even though they've had 5 of their soldiers killed by Hezbollah. They've had their entire upper part of the country evacuated. Hezbollah is hiding in population centers, just like Hamas did. That is extremely, extremely difficult. Now, I'm not saying that Israel has done everything perfectly. But the fact remains that he then goes on to lift up the name of Allah, which is not the one true God, which is not the God that he supposedly believes in as a Jew. And then he quotes, what he quoted, folks, was the last chapter of the Quran there in chapter 112, verse 1 through 4. That he said in Arabic that Allah does not have a son, nor can he be begotten. So he himself is not a father, Allah, nor can he be a son. So this fool is joining this anti-Christ slogan that Muslims recite at least 17 times a day in their daily prayers. And he's reciting this inside a mosque as now he is going to be in Congress, because these guys have won the primaries. It's like winning the primaries here in Tennessee as a Republican. You pretty well are guaranteed to win the general election. These guys more than likely are going to be winning the general election. And you have now these three Democrats, socialists, either jihadists themselves or this Jewish leftist fool. Here is another clip. Let me go to this. This is in, or here's another article, I should say. This is in Rare Foundation. Let me share this with you. DC set to elect its first ever Democrat socialist mayor. Janice Lewis George's record is even worse than you thought. And there's a video here of her Party for Socialism and Liberation PSL statement. She wins, what it means for DC and the movement for socialism. You understand? This is become now completely normalized in our country.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so very much for joining us for this exciting
Black Voters
panel
Matter
on DC statehood. I am sitting.
Okay, we don't have the time, obviously, for all this, but I encourage you to look up this article in, there it is, endorsed Metro DC DSA endorsement. So the Democrat Socialists have officially, folks, taken over. So New York City is in collapse. DC is going to go the same way. And then you have, let me get back to this screen here. Then you have, if you go back to Rare Foundation, right here, let me share this. Here's another radical Muslim that has been elected in New York. Right here, New York under siege. Aber Kawaz represents the full fusion of socialism, Islam, and anti-American activism. Great article that I encourage you to look at right here. Let me go just through a little bit of this here for you. She's a Muslim DSA socialist with deep ties to terror sympathizers, convicted terrorist defenders, and Muslim Brotherhood linked networks. Fresh off Zohran Mamdani's victory, she's now running for New York State Senate in Queens. So she's a state Senate candidate who is going to win District 12 in Queens. So again, this is it brings up the pattern seen with Daria Lisa Chevalier in New York 13. That's for Congress. Endorsed by Engage. That is a Muslim Brotherhood front group. Engage is their political actor. You know, all this talk about AIPAC and the Jewish lobby, and nobody wants to. They're bad, but nobody talks about the Qatari influence. Nobody's talking, as they should be, about the Muslim Brotherhood political party, their political action committees, their influence in America, along with groups like Engage. And so this is, here's her.
Leave a message after the beep.
Hi, this is Abir Kouas. I'm sorry to miss you, but I want to tell you a little bit about my campaign for state senate. I'm running because Queens is my home and I want to fight for it. I want to fund dignity for all. That's healthcare for all, free transit for all, and affordable housing for all. And I want to fight against destruction. That means fighting against ICE picking up our neighbors off the streets, fighting against climate disaster affecting us, and I'm an anti-war candidate.
Let me play this again. Let me just change my screen layout here because that was harder for you guys to see. I'm going to play this again because what I want to highlight in this little quick video, let me go full screen here, is that she is, so all of her talking points, folks, all of her talking points are Democrat, socialist, anti-ICE, we're anti-war, we're, free this, free that, but she's running as a Muslim. So you have to understand the Muslims are using the DSA right now to do their bidding. Watch this
Please
one more
leave a
time.
message after the beep.
Hi, this is Abir Kouas. I'm sorry to miss you, but I want to tell you a little bit about my campaign for state senate. I'm running because Queens is my home and I want to fight for it. I want to fund dignity for all. That's healthcare for all, free transit for all, and affordable housing for all. And I want to fight against destruction. That means fighting against ICE picking up our neighbors off the street, fighting against climate disaster affecting us, and I'm an anti-war candidate. I want to make sure our tax money is not going towards war and genocide. Vote for me on June 23rd. Let's do this together. Join the fight.
So this is the influence of Mamdani. This is what we're seeing.
In a year.
Let me go back here, sorry. And we are in a fundamental transformation. We're in a fundamental transformation. And so again, if you're joining us late, New York City crazy, breeding jihadist Marxists? Absolutely. Absolutely. So we continue to battle for America. We have to pick up our cross. We have to be bolder. We have to pray, but we got to wake up. You heard that first video talk about the low turnout in these primaries. So all of these leftist, radical, Democrat, socialist, Muslim, Brotherhood operatives, jihadists, all of them are that they are getting massive voter turnout. Massive voter. When I talked about their voting machine a couple of weeks ago in the show here, I mentioned to you that in some of these places, particularly in Texas, the Muslims are getting 50 to 75% voter turnout. Meanwhile, we just don't care and we don't pay attention to, again, folks, I'm really sorry about the blurriness tonight. I'm not sure what's going on. We'll try to figure it out, but just bear with us. So let me transition here really quick because I do want to cover the other a couple of topics. Yeah, Kearney family, that's a great question about how do you get Christians to turn out. That is absolutely a phenomenal question. And I tell you, it is extremely, extremely difficult because Christians are of the opinion, many of them, that they should not vote. They should not care. And we need to be able to understand that even though we believe that the events of the world are in God's timing, the events of the world are in his hand, but yet we still have a duty to occupy till he comes, which includes our civic duty. We're citizens of America. Of course, non-citizens shouldn't be voting. That's another problem. The justice that's upside down in our country is another problem. The fact that we can't get a bill passed through Congress because of the Republicans to say you need to have an ID to vote. You need to have proof of ID, who you are to vote, proof of citizenship. That's another problem. Spiritually, this is further dividing America, folks. Please understand, there's a couple of nuggets you can get from tonight. Here's one of them, in my opinion. Spiritually, those who are anti-America, who are anti our republic, the red-green axis, they are further galvanizing to the radical left. And then we have the problem that those who claim to be on the right or conservatives are now moving more towards isolationism. Not that I'm in favor of, global wars and regime change, but this notion that, we supposedly shouldn't care about what happens to the rest of the world, even though they lie like Tucker and are very much propagating and putting their propaganda forth for what they think the rest of the world should look like. And this woke right is now anti-Semitic, wants to turn on Israel. And the combination of that is leaving a very small remnant But yet the reality is that the majority of Christians do not vote. And Hylard, last comment here. That's a great point that I think then with the way that Trump is going and how much he's turning off people, and especially including what he did with Iran, obviously. By the way, headline. I don't know if I have this one or not. Let me go to this headline. Listen to this. Iranian drone strikes Singapore flag cargo ship leaving the Strait of Hormuz, U.S. officials said. And as a result, warplanes are up in the air again. Let me just live from Iran International reporting. Trump predicts, of course, he's going to predict this because, what else is he going to do? Iran deal. He predicts there will be an Iran deal, despite the fact that another ship was attacked by the IRGC in violation of this MOU that we covered. And so who here again thinks that this is going to last? Yeah, nobody, right? Nobody. But time will tell, whether again the Iranian people were betrayed or not by that. But I want to jump forward just really quick to this video of Pastor Tony Spell. By the way, just to wrap up the issue of, listen, this is why in our ministry we do what we do. We continue to go to warn and wake people up. All we can do is continue to bring this information to people, especially Christians and churches and pastors and the Republican Party or conservative parties or conservative groups, to say, if you do not wake up now, the United States is heading down the road of Western Europe very rapidly, and the United States ultimately, in parts of it, will turn into places like Iran that the people didn't think would happen. And so this Islamic takeover, this Islamic sabotage is happening from within. So this is why we do what we do. This is why our ministry exists. Number one is to lift up the gospel. Number one is to lift up the name that is above every other name, to be very clear that we are not going to compromise on the word of God. We are not going to compromise on God's truth, and we're not going to compromise on the gospel that saves. Christ crucified, buried, resurrected. Christ as the only mediator. Christ as the only way of salvation. That there's but one God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And it's not Allah or any other false demon God. But we also care about the welfare of our nation. And I care about my children, your children, one day my grandchildren, Lord willing, your grandchildren. We care about this next generation. We care about, as our founders said, about our posterity. We're about to celebrate our 250th birthday, and we are systematically being taken over. New York City has gone absolutely berserk and crazy, and it's going all over the place. And this is why we need your prayers, and this is why we need your support to continue to push this narrative forward and this truth forward, and to wake up. This is a defibrillator, folks. This is a shock moment to understand the ramifications of the election of a Mamdani, and that how that has moved this ripple effect. And it should be no surprise that you see these radicals coming. Now, let me play. Many of you have heard about the story of Pastor Tony Spell. So if you do not know the backstory, Tony Spell, a pastor down in Louisiana, kind of got on the map during COVID. During COVID, he refused to shut down his church. They're inner city there. They feed a lot of homeless people, take care of a lot of minorities, and their church ministers to a lot of that demographics in their area. He got sort of on the forefront during COVID because of the fact that of the fact that they were staying open, defying the orders from the local sheriff and city. And he was arrested. He was put on house arrest. He was put on an ankle bracelet. Prominent pastors like Greg Locke and Pastor Ken Peters, if you know some of these people, Joshua Furstein and others, they went down to a rally in 2020 in Louisiana. So that's kind of how he was on the radar. Now, from the backstory, for several years now, their church, because of their stance, because of their views, they're pretty conservative church, they have been under attack from the city, from their neighbors, and particularly from this neighbor across the street. So this wasn't just a random thing. This was an ongoing feud between the church and this family across the street, and the fact that the church had complained multiple times to the police department, to the city mayor's office, about not only harassment from people who were coming to the church every Sunday during the week, during their Bible studies, during their midweek services, for their school. They were being harassed, racial slurs at Black kids that were coming into the church, Black families. And according to Tony Spell, he was working on his bus, and this guy, young guy from across the street, who's the son of the family that lives across the street from the church, started shouting racial slurs and specifically started saying, I'm going to rape your wife and your kids and your grandkids, and when you're out of town, I'm going to kill them, and you use racial slurs, and this is the allegation, okay? And there's many eyewitnesses, they claim to this over, and again, this is not the first time, according to what I've read, that this has been an ongoing pattern, and there is some level, apparently, of corruption. There was some level of corruption within the city government, because we know that, again, because of COVID. This was a very corrupt city government during COVID. So that's given. But here's where I'm a little bit torn about what happened. So let me go to this video. And so while this confrontation is happening, let me bring this up. So this is the video. In the khaki shirt and black pants is Pastor Tony Spell. The kid in the shorts is this kid from this family that is across the church that has been agitating. That has been not only agitating, but now is threatening his family. And let me just say this before I play this here. Here's what I can understand, okay? Here's what I can understand. I can understand that there has been a lot of pent-up frustration in this pastor. I can understand that. And there's a lot of people that I know that are supporting Pastor Tony Spell. Now, I supported him during COVID. When he got arrested, had to have an ankle monitor on him for defying COVID, I supported him. Just like I supported, as Pukiel, you're saying, California pastors like Hibbs and MacArthur and Rob McCoy. I had Rob McCoy on my podcast back in 2020. Churches in Spokane, before I moved to Tennessee, we were defying. And of course here. And if you know my backstory, I defied the mask mandates. I was kicked out of movie theaters. I was kicked out of hospitals. I was kicked out of eye clinics. I was kicked out of hotel rooms. I defied everything. On our website, we wrote a religious exemption letter for people that got downloaded 3,000 times. So I absolutely supported those pastors that defied the draconian COVID dictatorial lockdowns, just like Pastor Artur Pawlowski in Canada. But you're going to see in a minute that I think that his frustration got the better of him. Now, obviously, legally, he is now was arrested as a result of this incident. You'll watch the video in a minute, and I want to get your comments. I actually want to know what you guys think. This is, yeah, Pookie, the Sherwin family. Thank you for that. That was the family across the street. So a lot of people are supporting him. A lot of people are saying this is what Christian men should do. I want you to understand, I have had my family threatened on multiple occasions. I have had my life threatened on dozens of occasions. We have had our conferences threatened before. Brandon House and I, when we were in Sioux Falls again, a heavily armed Muslim came into our conference with 5 weapons, threatened our conference. Police locally did nothing. So I understand the frustration of local law enforcement doing nothing, even the FBI doing nothing. I have had letters in the mail threatening to rape my wife and children, threatening to throw acid on my wife and children. We've turned those letters over to the FBI. Nothing ever happened. So I can understand the frustration that when you have tried to do the legal thing, the lawful thing, go to your civil magistrate, go to your police department and say, listen, this is not just freedom of speech anymore. When someone says, I hate you, okay, that's freedom of speech. When someone says you're a racist or bigot or you're an Islamophobe or a xenophobe, uses the N-word against you or people in your church, got it. But when they start intimidating people, harassment is criminal. Intimidation is criminal. Hindering. Listen, Christians were arrested for blocking abortion clinics, facing 11 years in prison until President Trump pardoned them. But if you intimidate a church, imagine if this happened outside a mosque. Imagine if Christians stood outside a mosque and we're saying not only we hate Muslims, but then you go to the point of saying, I'm going to kill your wife, I'm going to kill your children, I'm going to rape your wife, your children, your grandchildren. That is no longer freedom of speech. Because like the guy in Sioux Falls, when he started making threats inside the building and outside the building, we didn't know at the time, but he was sitting outside a building in his car, live on Facebook, making threats at our conference while the conference was going on within a few hundred feet. Meanwhile, he's got 5 weapons in his vehicle. He on Facebook brings out his AK-47, brings out his AR-15, brings out multiple handguns, brings out extended magazines, and brings out and brags about having 1,250 rounds of ammunition. The Sioux Falls Police Department watched him do this in the car and did nothing. So I understand the frustration. But I'm going to play this video, and I'm going to show you Pastor Spell went too far. He didn't just defend himself. He went too far. His frustration, rightly so, got to him. But he's not claiming that that happened. He's saying this was completely justified. So, okay, let's go to this, and you be the judge. We'll play this, and I want to get your comments after the video. Here we go. So again, confrontation has happened, okay? And now he's coming across the street from the church. You can see in the background, there's the school buses from the church building. Now, on the video, you're going to hear Pastor Spell, this kid says something to him, and Pastor Spell says, this is the first mistake. I'm going to break your neck. Listen, here we go. Let me get audio. Go full screen. Here we go. So the kid, watch this, throws the first punch. Okay? Let me go back just a few seconds. So the kid does throw the first punch. Boom. Now watch this. Here comes the second punch. Boom. Here comes the third punch. Boom. So the kid throws 3 punches at him. Okay, so up until this point, the confrontation, which was verbal, except for the fact that he said, I'm going to break your neck, that could be deemed as a threat legally. I'm talking about legally here. Now, gets physical because the kid throws the first punch. Now watch the response. Gets him to the ground. Okay? Now he could have stopped. He got his point across, but there's all that frustration. Watch. Grabs his head. Clearly this kid is in a defenseless position now. And he's just punching away. Grabs his head. Keeps hitting him. Now, that was okay. Yeah, that was questionable. Now watch this. This is unfortunately legally a problem. Watch this. Boom. Kicks him. And that's the end of the confrontation. All right. Time for your comments. So, yeah, I mean, look, there's no doubt that he beat that it was a one-sided fight. There's no doubt there that it was one-sided. But I want to get your comments. So what I'm going to say to you is, from a legal standpoint, as a former police officer, I'm trying to just give you my legal ruling here, okay? I understand, and they, by the way, they charged him with second-degree battery, not first-degree battery, second-degree battery, kind of like second-degree murder. Usually it's more based upon moment in passion, nothing premeditated. So this was not premeditated. This was in the moment, responding. Again, I totally understand the frustration of all of the years, of all of the reporting. You go to police, they do nothing. This is the allegation. But I tell you that once he got the kid on the, so up front, I would not have said, I'm going to break your neck, because that's a threat. But he said it. Okay? Because obviously, if you break their neck, that's now serious bodily injury or potentially death. Just like if you say, I'm going to rape your wife and kill you, that's the same thing. But the fact is, the kid threw the first punch. So at that point, legally, Pastor Spell, in my opinion, was in self-defense mode. He had every right to defend himself, and he had every right to punch back. But once he gets the kid on the ground and he subdues him, again, I'm Monday morning quarterbacking. But if it was possible, he should have kept the kid on the ground until the cops came. The fact that he keeps punching him, the kid's yelling for help, grabs his head, punches him in the face more, turns his neck, could have broken his neck, doesn't look good. And then to make it worse, when you get up and then you kick the kid in the head when he's already in the ground, doesn't look good. So, tell me your comments. Ever hopeful, what do you mean by you should know them by their fruit? Are you talking about Pastor Spell? RJN, the punk will sue. I'm sure they're going to sue, but I come from a family of all brothers, and this way disputes were settled. And it could be this is a Southern thing that hey, we're gonna take you out. And of course, right after he was bailed out, Pastor Spell, I don't know if you saw the video. He went to church. He was within hours. He was preaching that Sunday, and he then kind of made light of it, because he then, I don't know if he was joking. I can't read the man's heart, but he said, the Bible says lay hands on the sick. Well, today I laid hands on the sick. I'm not sure how much it will help, or something to that effect. Again, that's not the way I would approach it. It's not the way that I would say it when I know that I'm in legal trouble. I would keep my mouth shut in the sense of but look, I get the frustration. You went across the street, you had it. The guy's threatening your wife and children. I would probably do the same thing as far as going across the street and telling him, if you don't shut your mouth, if you touch my family, I will do whatever it takes to defend my family. I will do whatever it takes to defend my church, my home. So just be forewarned. I think that would have been legally absolutely right. The kid threw 3 punches at him. Again, totally justifiable. And then you wrestle, you get on the ground. Yeah, ever hopeful. I agree. Pastor's flesh got the best of him. I agree. The problem is, of course, legally, he's trying to hold the ground and saying, no, I was justified in doing this. What my problem is that a lot of people are coming to his defense in the sense of saying, you know, I'm so glad he kicked this guy's butt, blah, blah, blah. He's a real man. I disagree. I disagree that the level that he took it was of a real man. I think you have to have a measured response. That's like saying, if I was to defend my home and somebody comes into my home or threatens my family, and now I have to use lethal force. As a law enforcement officer, I was trained, we use force to stop the threat. Cops get in hot water, for example. Let's say you fire 4 rounds into an individual to stop the threat. Now the individual is down on the ground, the individual is not moving, you remove the weapon or the source of the threat. Now you sit there and you empty your gun into that individual while they're helpless on the ground. You're going to get charged with murder. It doesn't matter how justified it was at the beginning. So legally, in my opinion, Pastor Spell has a legal problem. Morally, he has a problem because I think that he's got to admit that, listen, I acknowledge I got angry. I acknowledge that my flesh got the best of me because I'm a protector. And I'm going to protect my wife and kids. The Papa Bear came out of me. I went too far. I think if he says that, he's demonstrating his humility. He's demonstrating I'm going to take responsibility for my actions. If they keep defending this and saying it was completely justified, I disagree. Not all of that was justified. He had it. He had it. I get it. He had it. I mean, that you can tell is years of pent-up frustration coming out. I get it. But you got to have the self-control of the Holy Spirit in that moment to say, okay, I got him on the ground. He's grabbing his head. I'm going to stop. If he had stopped there, I think there would have been absolutely 100% legal, moral cause to say totally justified. Totally justified. If he had stopped there. And then the kick, boy, that did not help at all because that kick could have and may still have caused serious brain damage and could have killed that kid. Now what? So time will tell. But what I would love to see is for those out there, some friends of mine who are supporting Pastor Spell right now, support him in a godly manner. Support him by saying, we're praying for you, we're praying for your family, we're praying for your church. We certainly understand that these attacks against your church have been justified. We certainly understand the frustration with law enforcement and corrupt officials locally. I understand that. I'm telling you, what happened to us in Sioux Falls, what happened to us in Bloomington, Minnesota, when our event got canceled in 2018 because Muslims threatened our conference, the local mosque threatened our conference, the local police department and sheriff's department told us they will do nothing to defend us and protect us because it's our own fault. We're agitating the Muslims. I get it. I'm mad and I get that frustration. But then that's like us going and retaliating and then you go too far. Again, if the guy gets in your face, if the guy was on church property and threatening, boom, take him down. But even with security, even with training, even in law enforcement, you cannot go past the point of once you have somebody in a position that they're defenseless. Now, you got to stop. The use of force on the continuum has got to stop. God is a just God, but yeah, Hyler, that's what I'm saying. That this is, and please hear my heart. I'm not saying this should have been the turn the other cheek moment. I think the fact that he went across the street to confront this kid, fine. I wouldn't have said, I'm going to break your neck. That's caught on camera. Then the kid threw punches. But he's got to acknowledge, look, in zeal, look, listen, let me say it this way. In all humility, I get very zealous in protecting my wife and kids. I am deeply, deeply protected. You want to see another side of Shahram Hadian? Threaten my wife and kids. But as I said, do you know how many times we've had threatening emails, phone calls, letters? We had multiple letters when we lived back in Spokane sent to our property with somebody who was too cowardly to say who they were, threatening to rape my wife and children and throw acid on them. The frustration of dealing with the FBI doing nothing, the frustration of dealing with law enforcement, I get it. But if you take things into your own hands, you got to have the courage to also say, hey, I may have gone too far. And for that, I apologize. Because at the end of the day, you're a representative of Christ. You got to be a representative of Christ. And a humble man would say, in my zeal, I take responsibility that I went too far. I shouldn't have punched him in the head. I shouldn't have kicked him in the head. And I shouldn't have punched him when he was defenseless on the ground. Execute justice to the point where it's needed to be executed. But the problem is when we have no justice in our land, when Christians are getting 11 years in prison for standing outside an abortion clinic to pray and sing, and these people can threaten our churches, threaten our families, and nothing happens to them, this is the result. You're going to get these type of explosions. You're going to get this type of situation. I agree with, I think most of us are on the same page here. And this family is certainly messed up. Don't get me wrong. The family across the street, this kid is probably, Sean Renee, I agree with you. There may be past issues with that boy, but just take accountability. And for those pastors and people that are standing with Tony Spell, you take accountability too. Let's represent Christ properly. We can't be unhinged. And I've had moments where I've lost my temper in ways that I'm embarrassed about. With my family, with other people. But you got to take responsibility. You got to say, hey, I'm a man. I'm just human. I'm flesh. I still deal with the flesh. But I saw the press conference. I saw what he said. I saw what his lawyers said. And they're trying to say that this is justifiable. And it's a bad, another, and again, I think the media would handle it differently if it was an attack on a mosque. That's true, but still, not good. But let's pray for our nation. Because this is what they're trying to antagonize us. They're trying to provoke us. Yet they are the ones who are violent. They're the ones who are violent. And ultimately, at the end of the day, we have to fight with spiritual weapons. And I'm not saying that if somebody came into my house or came into our church, if we had a church building, I'm not saying that I would not defend my flock or defend my family. I would do whatever is necessary to stop the threat. But legally, you have to be wise as a serpent. We're not in God's economy. We're in Satan's economy. We're in Satan's justice system. This country now is Satan's justice system for the most part. All these corrupt judges, corrupt prosecutors, even the DOJ, this is now Satan's justice system. So pray for Pastor Spell, pray for the church, pray, and that's certainly necessary, because it's a scary feeling when your family is threatened. In private, when that has happened, I have said some things about the people, but we have to let vengeance be the Lord's. Righteousness is our responsibility. Vengeance is the Lord. So I pray for Pastor Spell. I pray for the church there. But I also pray that he humbles himself and repents of where he lost control. And that maybe it was not the best idea to go across the street and confront this fool. Because that's what they are. They're fools. I wanted to bring up this Tucker thing, but I'm going to have to wait because we're already over time. So Tuesday, I'll get into more of this Tucker propaganda with having J.D. Hall on his show, bashing Israel, bashing dispensationalism. We'll get into that more on Tuesday. Let's wait on that. But I think tonight we've done enough. So thank you guys for being with us. Thank you for all your comments. We had 124 comments tonight. Lots of activity. Pukiel, no, I was not a police officer when my family got threatened. That was after. So after I was in law enforcement, once I started traveling and speaking from 2010, that's when I started getting more threats. And over the years, my life has been threatened dozens of times. Our events have been threatened, as I said, multiple times. Our events have been shut down because of security reasons. We had to have massive security at times, security reasons, protests. But when they get to you, it's one thing to threaten me. But when you threaten my family, when you threaten my wife and 6 children, when you threaten our church body, that is a different level. And that takes on a whole different level of seriousness. So I get the frustration. I get that it was pent up. I get it was built up. And listen, with everything going on in our nation and with this crazy things that we're seeing again in our cities, this jihadist Marxist coalition, this trans coalition with them, they're violent. They want to kill us. This is no joke. They want to kill us. Satan has come to steal, kill, rob, and destroy. They want to kill us. But our weapons are not carnal, meaning use force when we have to use force to justify, to defend. But we can't let vengeance dictate, and we can't let rage dictate, and we can't play into the enemy's hands. And so often, my wife tells me this too, like, don't give Satan a foothold. Don't give Satan ammunition. And that's where our flesh gets the better of us sometimes. And it's human, and it happens, and I get it. And I happen to me, and I'm not speaking from a place of, my high ground. But when it's happened, we got to also be humble enough to say, yeah, listen, I lost it, man. I went too far. It's okay. And so pray for believers, pray for pastors. This attack is dividing again a lot of Christians, and so is what's going on in our country because so many Christians are asleep. So pray for the true body of Christ to wake up. Yes, thank you guys for bringing up the earthquakes in Venezuela. Please pray for the people of Venezuela. yeah, I saw the numbers. It is horrific. You're saying 100,000. I don't know, Pookie. I haven't seen the latest numbers, but I saw that it was in the tens of thousands potentially. This is a huge tragedy for the people of Venezuela. So we pray for them. We pray for God's mercy and restoration, and that many would come to Christ, and there be provisions for that as well. So and of course, as always, please pray for the Iranian people as well. This is so frustrating. I can't tell you with this, the Trump betrayal, deal. JD Vance makes me sick. I'm so sickened of Vance right now. People forget in 2017, 2018, this guy was a TDS never Trumper. Trump deranged syndrome to the umpteenth degree. All of a sudden, he's the, bastion of conservatism. Don't forget he's a Catholic. Don't forget he believes in replacement theology. He does not support Israel. And for that reason alone, I don't trust him. And so, yeah. Pookie, thank you for that. So again, folks, remember, if you want to see the Great American Conflict, the Clash of Cultures, go to Iran Alive Ministries, and you can watch it for free there. Just give them your email address. If you don't mind getting some updates from them, they're a great ministry, ministering to the underground churches, Iranian churches in and throughout Iran and the world. Again, I've just had a privilege of working with their ministry. And also, I pray that you will pray for us as we continue to do what we're doing. And if you, of course, want to support our ministry, go to tilministry.com/donate, TIL ministry.com/donate. And thank you guys all for praying for us. The doors will continue to open, that God will continue to give us favor. I got an exciting meeting coming up in September that I will talk about later. Way too soon to talk about it. But it's a tremendous opportunity that God's opened doors. Again, Monday, I'll be on Stackleback tonight, Eric Stackleback. And I'll try to get the link and get that out to you guys, that interview. Praise God for that interview there. Coming up on Monday, and many other interviews. But we'll be back with you on Facebook for our sermon series, back at 1:00 p.m. Eastern time on Sunday, approximately 1:00. We'll be live streaming from Facebook from our house church. And I'll be back with you, Lord willing, Tuesday to talk about the deception that continues to go on and the unbelievable Jew hatred that we see happening in and by those claiming to be Christians. Incredible times we're living in, but God's in control of all of it. So you guys have a blessed night. Thank you so much. So good to be back with you. So good to be back with you. I missed you all, missed being with you. And thank you for tuning in tonight. Pastor Sharam Hadian saying have a blessed night. And we shall see you next week on Truth Today, noon Eastern time on Tuesday. God bless you. And may the Lord Jesus Christ be lifted up and glorified. And may the Lord come soon. Lord, come soon. Look up. Our redemption draws near. Boy, are these the last days. And so pray for our nation. Pray that we return back to the one true God. God bless you guys. Have a great night.